Welcome to Three Chords and the Truth, a YouTube podcast. My name is Peter, and with me is my co-host Andrew. Andrew, it's been a long time.
It's been a while. Yeah, but here we are.
Here we are. I've been incredibly busy and just running all over the place. I've been traveling. I've been doing a lot of work. I work as a photographer. You run a world famous chemist in Toronto. I'm in Australia. It's been hard to find time.
It has, yeah. I actually had hoped that you'd forgotten about all this and I could just kind of go off into the distance and not have to worry about a YouTube podcast. But
I'm bringing you back because we're going to start getting into the more recent YouTube stuff, which you're not very familiar with. So we need to get in there and turn you back into a fan.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. But before we get into that, we saw together U2 in 1992. That was the first show I think we had seen together. So we're going to be talking about the ZooTv tour that was played in Toronto. Now, I went to two shows for the ZooTv tour. I went to the one in Maple Leaf Gardens, and then I went to the one in Exhibition Stadium. So we're going to talk about both shows and our perceptions of it. What do we remember from the shows and those kinds of things. So are you ready to go?
Let's do this.
Okay, so let's start off with the Maple Leaf Gardens show. So that was on the 24th of March, 1992. Octung Baby had just been released, and obviously it was a huge success. Now, we would have met right around the opening, so when Octung Baby was released. But I don't know why we didn't go to the show together. I went to the show with my older cousin Lou, and I'll explain what an interesting time that was. But yeah, I don't know why we didn't go together for that show, but I went to that concert with my older cousin Lou.
Right.
Why didn't you go to the show? Were you not be able to get tickets? Do you remember why you didn't go?
I don't remember any of it. Yeah. I was kind of thinking this a few weeks ago when we have been trying to get this podcast back on track for a while, but anyways, life has taken over. But yeah, I was kind of wondering why I didn't go with you to the Gardens show. Maybe it was ticket availability. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah.
Well, let me talk about the show first off. I had seen U2 previously. I saw U2 for the Joshua Tree tour with my older brother Joe, and then I went to this show with my cousin Lou. And now my brother Joe and his girlfriend, wife at the time, was at the show, so they got tickets to see this show, and they had the worst tickets in the house. You know when U2 release tickets, but you're like behind the stage,
right? So
they were behind the stage, but there was a contest going that if you could, I don't know if you could fax in your ticket stubs, and if you had whoever had the worst tickets that faxed them in got front row tickets to see U2, and they got front row tickets to see U2 because their tickets were so bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
for that show or the next show?
For the Maple Leaf Garden show. Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah, so they were, and Bono apparently was on my brother's shoulders, and Michelle touched his ass or something. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, so there's an aside. I could see them because I was up in the right hand side, up in the sort of the stands, and I could see them down in the front row. Those fucking assholes.
Interesting.
Down at the front row.
Yeah, because that's definitely a show where you wouldn't want to be behind stage because everything was on the stage. That was the whole point of that show,
right? With the cars and the screens and stuff like that. It was definitely, when you look at the Joshua Tree tour, which was just about a band on a stage, and they had a screen, but it was the focus. The focus was the band on the stage, and then you go into ZooTv, and it's it's crazy. Like there's tray bends on hanging from the roof, used as spotlights. The stage has a little ramp that goes into the middle of the audience. It was a very different show than U2 had ever performed. So I think this is a revolutionary show because now a lot of artists do have the little, platforms that go out into the audience. So U2 was probably one of the pioneers for this kind of thing.
I think I sent you a photo of me in a Trabant, right, in Vegas. They had those, they had like a separate, it was like a free thing that you could walk through. And one of them was that you could get your photo taken in a Trabant. And I remember talking to the kid who was taking the photos. I was like, you must be sick of these fucking middle-aged men coming in here. Because it was just hundreds of people lined up to get photos in the car. And he's like, yeah.
Do you know when, an aside here, do you know when I realized that U2 weren't as relevant as they used to be? Is when I was here in Australia. And they were releasing a new album. And I walked into like an HMV when HMV was still a thing. I think it's called Sanity Records here now. I don't know if I don't even know if Sanity Records is a thing anymore. And I walked up to the guy because it wasn't displayed. You know, when U2 records come out, it's usually displayed pretty prominently.
Yeah.
And I walked up to the guy at the record at the counter, and I was like, "Hey, where's the U2 record?" And it could have been my accent, but he goes, "YouTube? What YouTube record?" And he didn't know what I was talking about. And I was like, "Holy shit!" So yeah, time had changed.
Yeah,
so
you know what it is though. It's like there's no kids at their shows.
No, very little. Very little. It's if there are kids, they're there with your parents because they've been listening to that music since their childhood. That's if there are kids there. But you're right. It's mostly people our age, people in their late 30s.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me tell you about my concert experience at seeing Maple Leaf Gardens. I went with my older cousin Lou, who was, let's say, paranoid. Is a good example to describe him at the time. He was convinced that we were going to get jumped at some point. I don't know why. So he brought a knife with him and hid the knife in his cowboy boot. So he had a butterfly knife in his cowboy boot in case he needed to front. Nothing happened, obviously.
Obviously. Was he afraid of downtown Toronto or just the crowds? Or
he was a boy from Brampton. We were taking the subway downtown to Toronto to Maple Leaf Gardens. So he was convinced that if something happened, he was ready. So he had a butterfly knife in his boot. Yeah. So that was kind of weird. I was like, no, it's weird. But, I was, 18 at the time, 17 at the time. He would have been 21, 22. So yeah, I was like, all right. Yeah. And he was also the kind of guy that you can't tell him not to do these things because there's just no talking to him. Like if he wants to bring a knife, he's going to bring a knife. Even though it's probably if anything did happen and he did use the knife on someone, it would have been the worst decision of his life, sort of thing. But
U2 fans are the most passive audience that you could probably encounter. So
he was going to run into someone fronting up against him at the Amnesty International booth. Yeah. So that's all I remember. I thought it was quite weird that he brought a knife, but he was waiting. He was ready if someone did front up to us. And
fucking dangerous.
Yeah. So I remember that quite vividly and fondly, I guess. Nothing ever happened, obviously. He kept the boot.
Now, where is Cousin Lou nowadays?
Okay, now, without telling too many family secrets.
Go ahead. Nobody's listening to this fucking thing.
I have not seen my cousin Lou since my dad's funeral. So I don't know exactly where he is. Like at my mother's funeral, he didn't show up, which is a surprise to me because we were all very close growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, without telling too many family secrets, I think there might be something he doesn't want anyone to ask him about if he was to be in our company, in our family company. That's what I'm thinking is happening. That's what he just wants to avoid any questions at all. I'll be as cryptic as that. How's that?
Okay, you can tell me off air.
Yeah, I'll tell you off air. It has to do with religion and lifestyles, pretty much.
Okay.
I'll say that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I think I can figure this out.
So I don't know. I don't know where he is. I haven't seen him in 15 years, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
16 years, something like that. So yeah, it's sad. He's a lovely man. I love hanging out with him. Obviously, I grew up with the guy. He's a really good guy. We were very close. We used to, I used to spend, sleepovers at his place and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I haven't run into him in a long time.
Yeah, I went to a U2 show in New Jersey with a cousin Gary.
Okay.
So when we get to that show, I'll tell you all about cousin Gary. He's not related to me. He was related to one of the guys we went with, and everyone calls him Cousin Gary, even to his face. Okay. It's Cousin Gary.
That's his name, I guess.
Yeah, from Dublin.
All right, let's talk about the set list for Maple Leaf Garden. So, as I said, it was 1992, March 24th. So it starts off with "I Could Have Lost You," which is, I think, what Bono sings at the beginning of ZooTv when they would do the live shows. It's like this, I don't know, it's a weird vocal thing that he does. And then that morphed into Zoo Station. So this is when they were doing heavily Octung Baby stuff. So Zoo Station, The Fly, Even Better Than the Real Thing, Mysterious Ways, One, Until the End of the World, Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses, Trying to Throw Your Arms Around the World. So that's how the concert starts. So it's Octung Baby heavy. which is a risk because, U2 are a big band at this point and they had a lot of hits. So to start your show just with Octung Baby songs is a bit of a risk, but it's a classic album. It's one of their greatest album.
Yeah, but I
So
think a lot of their hardcore fans didn't really take to it at the beginning. I know I didn't.
Right.
So it was a risk.
It sounded so different compared to their old stuff. So yeah, I can understand why that is. But I guess they knew this was a good album, and we're going to shove it down people's throat until they sort of understand it. Yeah. So that was the opening few songs. It was all Octung Baby.
Not bad.
Yeah. And then we're going to go to Angel of Harlem. This is when I think they start delving out into the crowd. So Trying to Throw Your Arms Around the World. If I remember correctly, Bono starts, grabs a bottle of champagne and he starts making his way down the platform, down into the middle of the audience to the B stage area. And that's where they do Angel of Harlem and Satellite of Love, which was the next song, which is a Lou Reed cover. And then here's the part of this concert that I remember the most and being completely blown away by this. They did Bad. And then at the end of Bad, they broke into All I Want Is You, but they just played like one chorus or one verse of All I Want Is You, and then dropped into Bolt the Blue Sky. Now that blew my mind because that was a great transition from like this nice soft romantic song to like the heavy, Led Zeppelin inspired guitar work on Bolt the Blue Sky. So that was pretty cool. That was the one thing I remember the most about the show. Do you know what I forgot to say is that the Pixies opened up for U2.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How are they?
Do
you remember?
They were. I'd never heard the Pixies before the show, and they were really, really good. I love the Pixies. But remember, we talked about this on a previous episode. They pretty much broke up as a band after opening up for U2 because of Kelly Deal's boyfriend, who worked for Spin Magazine, wrote a not very nice piece in Spin Magazine about U2, and that fractured the band. So we
should get him on the podcast.
You should get Kelly and Black Francis or Frank Black, whatever his name is, on the show. Yeah. After Bolt the Blue Sky, we have Running to Stand Still. We have Where the Streets Have No Name, Pride, and I still haven't found them looking for. And then they left the stage, and they came back for an encore. Now, what do you think about this encore? The encore started with Desire, Ultraviolet Light My Way, With or Without You, and Love Is Blindness. What do you think?
I like that.
Yeah, it's a pretty good encore.
I mean, Love Is Blindness is one of my favorites. So
yeah.
Close out a show with that would be good to see.
That's
good to hear.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the show, like from those songs?
So I do. After we talk about Exhibition Stadium, I want to discuss with you about the differences between the show, because obviously the staging at the outdoor ZooTv, probably double or triple the size of the indoor arenas they were doing. Because the Gardens holds what, 20,000, maybe 24,000. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think the reason why they started with an arena tour versus the stadium tour is that I guess they wanted to see what the appetite was going to be,
right? To
see if there was still an audience out there, because obviously, Rattlin' Home was a bit of a fiasco, and I like it as an album. It definitely wasn't there. They got a big backlash from that album.
Now, did they do one night or two nights at the Garden?
Just the one night.
Okay.
Just the one night, yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall it at all, apart from that you went to it. Like, that's my memory of it, is that Pete went to see them at Maple Leaf Gardens, but I don't remember anything.
Yeah. I can't remember. Like, I remember specifically for Joshua Tree, it took me 4 hours to get through the telephone line to get tickets to the Joshua Tree. Mm-hmm. I do not remember how I got tickets for these two shows. I remember I got tickets, obviously, because I went, but I don't remember how I did it. I don't remember if I called or if I lined up. Obviously, the internet wasn't a thing, so I wasn't online to get these tickets. So
I don't remember us ever discussing, like, are you going to buy tickets? Is somebody buying the tickets? Like, how are we going? I have an extra ticket. Do you want to come? Like, I don't remember any of that. So.
No, neither do I. I don't remember how we got these tickets. I think it would have been me that got the tickets. That I'm pretty confident in. But
to the show that we went to, there was 4 of us went, right?
Yeah, so it was me, you, and Henry.
Right.
And was my brother the 4th?
Your brother, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was my brother Joe. That was the 4th. Yeah. Which we met him at the show, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't even remember.
Yeah,
We had floors, right? We were on the floor.
No, we were
No?
up in the left hand side of Exhibition Stadium.
Really? See, I don't. Yeah, my memory's completely gone from it.
Yeah. So I remember. I remember where we were. That we were on the left hand side of the stage because for the Maple Leaf Garden show was on the right hand side of the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So facing the stage, right hand side, facing the stage, we were on the left hand side. Yeah. Let's talk about Exhibition Stadium. Now there was 2 shows, so we saw the second show. I actually had tickets to the first show, but I sold them to people, thinking I was going to make a lot of money. I just didn't have the wherewithal to be a scalper, and I think I just sold everything at cost. So, yeah, that was my experience trying to be a reseller. Yeah, it didn't work out very well.
Interesting.
So yeah, that would have been August the 6th, apparently. Yeah, August the 6th. Okay. It was the show for Exhibition Stadium. Okay, do you remember who was opening up?
It's I can't remember the name. I'm drawing a complete blank. I know one of them. There was 2 of them, right?
2 bands opened up, yeah. So one was Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy.
That's the ones that I'm thinking of. Yeah, the hip-hop television revolution thing.
Television's the drug of the nation. Yeah, that was a big song at the time. And the second band was Primus.
That's right.
Yeah. So those are the 2 bands. Winona Has a Big Brown Beaver.
That's right. I'm actually looking out my window right now into the CNE, into where Exhibition Stadium would have been. So I'm trying to conjure up that memory.
See, if you were living at that apartment at the time, you could have just opened the windows and listened to the show.
100%. And then I would have done that.
Probably. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the set list for this show. Now, obviously, the big difference, not alone is the crowd size of the 2 shows, is that there were a lot more songs at the second show. So there was a bigger set at the second show. So here we go. It starts with Zoo Station, The Fly, Even Better Than the Real Thing, Mysterious Ways, Love to Love You Baby, which I guess is a little snippet. I don't know that song. Do you know that song, Love to Love You Baby? Maybe it's like a disco song or something. Then they played one, and they had a little snippet of Hear Us Coming and Unchained Melody in one. Until the End of the World, New Year's Day, Whiskey in the Jar, which I think would have been sung by Larry Mullen, because I know he did do a song where he would sing.
I do remember that, actually, him singing that.
Yeah. Trying to Throw Your Arms Around the World, a snippet of Love and Affection. I don't know what that is. Angel of Harlem, When Love Comes to Town, Satellite of Love, Bad, again finishing with All I Want Is You, which dropped right into Bullet the Blue Sky. Now I think I was ready for it this time, so I probably don't remember it as well as I did the first show. So that was kind of cool. After Bullet the Blue Sky, we have Running to Stand Still, Where the Streets Have No Name, Pride Name of Love, I Still Am Looking For, and Stand By Me before they came out for their encore. So that's a pretty good gig.
I was at that show.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, like, is there one song you're missing? Maybe I Will Follow. They didn't play that, or Gloria. Like, can you think of a show, a song that you'd want to hear that they didn't play?
No, I think they played it all.
Yeah,
I hated the show, by the way.
We're gonna get into that in a second. Maybe Unforgettable Fire. Would have loved to have heard Unforgettable Fire because I do love that song. But other than a couple of songs here and there, I'm pretty happy with that. Set list.
3 Sunrises I would like to have heard.
Yeah, that is one of your favorite songs. Mm-hmm. And then they came out for their encore, which was Desire, With or Without You, and then they do the Shine Like Stars snippet, which we talked about in a previous podcast. Love Is Blindness, and they ended it with Can't Help Falling in Love. All right, so why didn't you like ZooTv? What was your issues?
Well, I was your typical fan. I wanted Joshua Tree Part 2. Yeah. I wanted Bono in the leather pants and the cowboy boots, and it probably wasn't until about 3 or 4 years after all this that I got it. And I was like, actually, that's a really cool concept. And it still holds up. Like that whole thing about mass communication, the dawn of kind of the internet. Yeah. I know the European leg of the tour kind of went into some right-wing things that were going on in Europe, which are, again, 30 years on is still happening in Europe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was definitely visionary. I don't think it had anything to do with them. I'm sure it was probably Eno and a bunch of other guys behind the scenes. But at the time, it's not what I wanted as a fan.
Yeah, what was happening in Europe at the time was the Yugoslavia Civil War.
Yeah.
So that's what was happening. So yeah, that was when they were playing shows like in Italy or Germany or France, that's not that far away. Yugoslavia wasn't that far away. So here they are playing the show, and then across the border, there's people dying. So
Yeah.
that's right up U2's alley. That's
Yeah.
what they're about.
I mean, I remember they'd opened up with, that famous Leni Riefenstahl with the
Mm-hmm.
kids drumming, the Nazi,
Mm-hmm.
youth drumming. And yeah, so, I mean, all that stuff still holds up, right? That stuff is still going on. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But,
And then
yeah.
I'll talk about a couple things. Bono every night would call someone from the stage, and
Right.
sometimes he would call the White House and try to speak to George Bush Sr. He'd call the White House operator, and one time I think in Detroit he ordered pizzas, and the pizzas were delivered and handed out to some of the crowd. During the U2 show in Sydney, he called a taxi to take him home. Like he would just call random people at nighttime during the show. Yeah, when he was dressed either as Mirrorball Man or as Mr. McFisto. And that's another thing we have to talk about, his character. So Bono had characters for these shows. So he came out as the Fly in the black leather, and then as the song went, he sort of became himself again. And then during the encores, he would either come back as Mirrorball Man or Mr. McFisto. Which one did you prefer, Mirrorball Man or Mr. McFisto?
The McFisto, I think, was kind of
was
an interesting, funny, not like if they were going to, do a complete 180 on their, what people perceived of them, that was the way to go.
Yeah, he really hammed it up.
Yeah.
That's more, it's more of a Virgin Prunes sort of show, I think.
Yeah.
Where they're doing characters like that. So I think U2, that was their Virgin Prunes moment.
Yeah, because I mean, he brought that out again for like the Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Anniversary tour and stuff, right? It's just not quite the same thing anymore.
No, I think what I loved about Mr. McFisto too, because he was in white, like sort of actor face paint sort of thing. And as he was sweating and maybe the black dye was leaving his head or whatever, it just sort of, it had this sort of monstrous sort of look to him.
Yeah, which is kind of Bono now with his hair dye.
Yeah. With his little orange haircut. Yeah. Yeah. So are you saying that after the show that you enjoyed the show more than you did at the time?
I think a lot of times I go to a show and I don't like it. That's my initial reaction. I think it's shit, it's boring, it's crap or whatever. And then it usually takes me a while to kind of think about it. And I'm like, you know what? That was pretty brilliant. And that was one of those shows where it took me about a year or two to kind of realize what they were trying to do. Yeah. Because, I wanted Joshua Tree 2.0. I wanted a sequel to that. I didn't want what they were doing. That was not what I wanted. But I get it now, especially when I see clips from that era. I'm like, I understand. I get it.
Yeah. And that was, that was probably their most creative heyday, because while they were doing this, they were recording Zeropa. And, flying home or finding a studio, especially when they were in Europe, they would go home to do some recording. So this was their most really their heyday for creativity, probably, to be able to have the energy, because obviously they can't do that now. They're old men. To fly home after a show would probably be impossible, but they're in their early 30s at the time. So early 30s. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just curious, like, do you remember Henry's reaction or what his view is, or did you reach out to him? Because I'd be curious, because U2 is definitely not a band that I would associate him listening to.
No, and I think that's the only U2 show that he's ever seen.
Right.
So he definitely wasn't as big a U2 fan as we were.
Right.
I think he liked it because of the spectacle of it, and obviously hanging out with me, he would have heard a lot of this stuff anyway. But definitely, he was more of a Guns N' Roses fan at the time. Right. I think he loved the Pumpkins. I think he was more guitar heavy.
Right.
Driven music. Now I think he's evolved. I'd have to ask him. I'll get him to listen to this podcast.
Yeah,
and give some input. Yeah, whatever it was. But do you know the other thing? I think we were relatively sober for the show too, which is very unlike us.
Yeah, I don't think we were drinking.
No, at the time that sounds weird for us.
Yeah. I do remember that they were selling U2 condoms. Do you remember that?
That's right. Yep. For ZooTv, they were selling condoms. Yeah.
They were selling condoms, which I kind of, looking back, wish I had bought a pack and kept.
Yeah.
That would have been kind of a cool little memento.
Yeah.
And I remember they had like, it wasn't, you know how there was this controversy with the Coldplay Kiss Cam. Didn't they have something like that there? It was like a confessional that they were
That's right.
in between the encore
ZooTV,
or something?
Yeah, the ZooTV confessional between the encores. You're absolutely right. I forgot about that. Where
Yeah.
you could go into the confessional, you could confess something, and it might get played during the show. Yeah,
Those are the two big things that I remember for some reason from that show. So there you go. And by the way, Coldplay can fuck off.
They are your favorite band, aren't they?
Love them.
Yeah. Just to show you how ahead of their time U2 were, they had this idea to continue ZooTV in a way that it's very modern to today. Like they wanted to play it like a pay-per-view, which they would have done Sydney pay-per-view, which I would have seen in Canada. But when Bono takes off his glasses, you could click your remote on the glasses and then it would take you to a shopping site where you could buy the glasses, which is very much what is happening today.
Right.
And they were talking about this in 1992, 1993. That's what they wanted to create, this interactive sort of environment for the shows.
Yeah, see, I'm surprised that isn't kind of what they did with Pop Mart.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into, obviously, later on down the road.
Because
and where they had the press conference at like a Kmart and all this kind of stuff, right? Like consumerism, but it kind of backfired on them.
It did, yeah. People thought they had sold out. They didn't get the irony of the joke, I guess, of what they were trying to say. They thought they just sold out, which maybe they did. We'll talk about that when we get into Pop Mart. I think U2 try things and sometimes they work and they take big swings and sometimes the swings work, sometimes they do not.
Right.
Any other thoughts of U2 live before at this era?
I don't. I mean, that was the first time I'd seen them live.
Yeah.
So I'd not, unlike you and most of my friends, I'd not seen Joshua Tree. You know, I was a poor boy from the ghetto. I had no money. That was
the main streets of Mississauga.
Yeah, I barely had shoes with soles on them. Yeah, so it was my first time seeing that was probably, that's not probably, it was the first time I'd seen them.
Yeah. Now you saw Octung Baby at the Sphere, or ZooTV at the Sphere. Well, like obviously we had done that podcast. So if you were to compare the two shows, obviously there's 30 years in between. What are your thoughts about the Sphere? Like, did that lend itself to the whole ZooTV aesthetic?
It does. I don't think they were as successful as ZooTV. And I think I'd mentioned, when it comes to the graphics, I think that somebody like Roger Waters is a bit more successful, or Peter Gabriel when they do the graphics with the images, and or a Bowie when he was doing that kind of stuff. But I think ZooTV as a concept for a concert and a tour it's pretty note perfect. Yeah, for what they were trying to do.
And much like the Sphere, they were trying to pull something off that had never been done before. Yeah. Obviously the Sphere, there's probably been bands since U2 playing the Sphere, but they were the first band to do it, and they were the first band to do a show like this, where I think maybe the Stones had done something a little similar. I don't know if it was Voodoo Lounge or what the Stones had done at the time, but I think it was either the Stones or U2 that had a little B stage go out into the audience for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, the closest thing that I think that you could kind of compare it to would have been like a Pink Floyd show with graphics and everything, right? They've been long broken up since then anyways.
Yeah.
I think 86, 87, right?
Yeah.
So
that would have been Pink Floyd.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the events to go to if you were a rock fan, for sure. That year. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember people complaining. I have this distinct memory of watching like music shows and people complaining that they couldn't get U2 tickets to see them live. And I don't remember it being that difficult. Obviously it would have been because, they played 2 sold out shows, like, 60,000 people each show. So, obviously there was a market for it, but I don't remember. Maybe Maple Leaf Gardens was much harder to get because there was only 20,000 or 25,000 people. But
now I had told you that I had kept all my ticket stubs, and I, of course, can't find them anywhere. I don't know where I've put them, but I may have even thrown them out. Who knows? So I am curious as to, do you have any idea how much you paid or we paid for those tickets?
I'm guessing it would have been about $35.
Right.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Hold on, let's go into the Wayback Machine.
Okay,
Let's see if we can Google this. Did you want to do a bit of singing or anything to keep the audience entertained? Or?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think about $35-$40 would be around what ticket prices would have been then.
It grossed $151 million in box office. How much did it cost?
Because they almost went broke from it, I thought.
Yeah. Well, if we go into further and we start talking about Live Nation and how Live Nation sort of came about, U2 were one of the first people to team up with Live Nation. Live Nation paid for everything and took a cut. And so U2 did not have to do any outlay of any cash at all. So they let Live Nation take all the responsibility for it because I think of how much this cost them. And they made a lot of money, obviously, but not as much money as they could have.
Yeah, because that all kicked off with the Stones, right? Live Nation here in Toronto. Because the Stones used to always rehearse here.
That's right. And do they still do that? I don't know.
No.
Okay.
But Live Nation has their head office here, right? So
yeah,
2 Canadian guys that started it.
Yeah, Live Nation. Yeah. No, I don't know how much a ticket costs. Maybe we'll add that up in the next podcast.
Yeah. Do you know how much I paid for 360? Because that ticket stub I did find.
Yeah, how much was 360?
Yeah, it was $90.
Okay.
And that was that giant stadium, and we were way up in the nosebleeds.
Yeah. I think I would have paid about the same amount of money here in Australia, and we were on the floor. But remember, because I'm part of the fan club, I get access to pre-sales and all that kind of bullshit. So again, it wasn't hard to get tickets. It was quite easy. I just went on the day of the pre-sale and got tickets. I'm guessing I paid about the same amount before. Yeah. Now, what's really funny is that I have bought 6 U2 tickets and have not seen them since 360.
Right.
So I had tickets to see them in Montreal one time when I was visiting.
Mm-hmm.
But we were flying out the next day. So we would have had to have gone to Montreal, seen the show, hopped on a flight from Montreal to Toronto, Toronto to Vancouver, Vancouver to Australia. And which we were going to do, but then as sort of the dates got a little bit closer and closer, I was like, that's a lot. Especially with the amount of luggage that we had. So I ended up selling my tickets to a friend of mine. And then I had tickets to see the U2 reunion sort of show in Brisbane. And then we were going to go to Sydney to see them. And then my mother died that week. So I had to fly home and ended up just giving away the tickets to friends of mine as well. So yeah, I haven't seen U2 since 2007, 2008 would have been the last time I saw U2. No, it couldn't have been. It was probably 2011 was the last time I saw U2.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you've seen Bono since.
I have seen Bono. And I almost bought tickets to see the show at the Sphere. I had them there, and then I chickened out at the last second. Which
that would have been expensive.
Well, we figured it was going to cost us $10,000. But what I didn't know is that the date that I was going to put the date I was going to buy the tickets was around the same date that the Super Bowl was happening in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
So can you imagine the price of everything?
Yeah, so, I don't remember why. Tickets were a couple $100 that we had.
Mm-hmm.
We were on the floor.
Yeah.
Which I think I've said before, a bit of a misfire because you want to be high up to watch the graphics.
Yeah, sort of like Pop Mart a little bit.
Yeah. But I've never been that close to the band. So to see them that close, I mean, we were maybe 6 or 7 people deep from the stage. Yeah. So I've never been front row like you. So that was kind of a win. And we were with all these diehard fanatics, right? That were the same. They didn't give a fuck about the graphics. They were there
to see the band.
To see the band.
Yeah. No, I would have loved to have seen the stuff at the Sphere. I think it might get released as a special where you can download it or buy like a Blu-ray, or it'll be on some Prime or something like that. I wouldn't mind seeing that, but
you don't even need to. It's all on YouTube. Like there's some great videos on there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think either maybe seeing it twice, maybe once on the floor and then once the back of the hall would have been an interesting experience.
Yeah.
You remember the stage design, the Brian Eno stage design, which was the record player sort of thing?
Right.
I think I looked it up. You could buy that record player, a Brian Eno design record player. I think it was like $10,000 or something.
The price of your trip.
Yeah, so I didn't buy the record player either.
Yeah, I still find it fascinating that he's still involved with them because they're completely different musical. I don't even know how to explain it, but they just don't seem to have anything in common. But they must.
Mm-hmm. They must. Yeah, they must dig each other. I guess. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. There's ZooTv. Guess what we're doing next week?
Are we going to do this every 2 months now? This podcast, I thought.
Well, let's see how we go. Next week is Zooropa, so you get to listen to Zooropa all week.
So I actually thought that's what we were doing here. I completely forgot that we had discussed because it's been so long. So
yeah. So you've been listening to Zooropa.
And I'll try again. I have been struggling over the last 5 or 6 weeks to fucking get through this thing. So I will put my nose to the grindstone or whatever it is, the needle to the fucking vinyl, whatever. I will sit through this fucking thing.
Okay. Yep, Zooropa. Here we go. Next week. You ready?
No. I'll see you in October.
I know it's your favorite record on this thing.
Yikes.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week, and we'll start with Zooropa. I'll talk to you then, Andy.
All right, man. Have a good one.